Up next tonight from the Washington Fire Department, Indiana, Dwayne Murphy.
Good evening. My name's Dwayne Murphy, and let me start by introducing my family. I've got my wife, Katrina, our son's fiance, Jessica Paget, our daughter and her husband, Kelsey and Eric Miller, my mom and dad, members of the Montgomery Fire Department, and their wives. My wife and I were born and raised in Montgomery, Indiana. We were grade school sweethearts. We'll be married 30 years this November. We have two wonderful kids together, Kelsey Renee and Kendall James. We have two spunky granddaughters, Emma Noel and Hallie Renee. A soon-to-be grandson coming April 5th. My dad, he's been a firefighter for close to 50 years now. I grew up watching him race to the station when the alarm rang, saw him hop on the 1966 Ford and head out of town. I was given that same opportunity to work alongside my dad and join the Montgomery Fire Department in 1988, where I've been the assistant chief for the past 8 years. I then joined the Washington Fire Department on October 12, 2002, and I'm currently a lieutenant. That's my history. I want to start out by talking about family. What is family? Family's everything to me. Our kids grew up being spoiled by their grandparents, and I always told them they were lucky. They had 4 grandmas living within 1.5 miles of us, and another grandma 15 miles away. Now, 3 of those were great-grandmas. But as time goes by, we seem to get busier with work. Our kids are playing ball of some sort somewhere, and technology has taken over so much of our time. Family sometimes takes a back seat. I tried not to let that happen, but I fell into that work problem. For some reason, firefighters think they have to have 2 or 3 side jobs. I started missing time with my wife, birthday parties with my nieces and nephews, Sunday lunches, sporting events of my kids, and as my kids became adults, I missed opportunities to go to the Cincinnati Red ball games, babysitting my granddaughters, or weekend getaways with my wife. I had talked our son into joining the Montgomery Fire Department in the summer of 2016 since he had landed a job in town, and I told him volunteer fire departments are always looking for that daytime job guy that can just drop what he's doing and head that way. He was hesitant at first, and his best friend Trey, he and his best friend Trey decided to join. Trey is our chief's son, and Kendall and Trey were best friends from 5 years old on up. Kendall joining our department gave our family 3 generations of active firefighters. A year and a half later, on November 10th, Kendall was killed by another responding firefighter while exiting his vehicle at the scene of a reported PI accident. That firefighter was registering at .21 BAC. I was at my career job, and I didn't witness it. My biggest fear as a firefighter was always responding to a wreck involving one of my kids. Our lives were turned upside down. The whole community was ripped apart. And his fiancée, Jessica, well, she's heartbroken, she's lost, and her whole life as she once knew it is gone. Our family came together to handle Kendall's death as best as we can. It has not been easy, but with our faith in God and His promise to us, and knowing one day we will be reunited with Kendall has made us stronger. We say, I love you more, we hug tighter, and we argue a little less. My volunteer family. Well, I've watched most of them grow up to be fine young men. I've coached some of them in the summer league teams, winter basketball, maybe even drank a beer or 2 with their parents. We are part of a small community of around 500 people where everybody knows everything about everyone. Then I have my career family. They've been unbelievable to me. These guys I work with on shift came to my house just to sit in the basement and talk, let me cry, let me vent. The whole department got together to cover my shifts for the rest of the year, from November to January. The whole department, when they got together to cover my shifts, that made some of them working through the holidays, which they normally wouldn't have done. They continued to let me talk to them about Kindle, which I do a lot. They know just when I need time by myself, and they know when I need to talk to people and be around somebody. They are the guys I'm with 1/3 of my life, and they are my fire family, the career side and the volunteer side. Both departments stood beside each other during this difficult time in our lives. They worked together to make Kendall's funeral go as perfect as it could be. But both departments were a total loss. They had no clue on what to do, how to do it, where to go, when it would happen. That's where Supporting Heroes came in. I was told they had someone at the Montgomery Fire Station sitting in his car, waiting to meet someone within 4 hours of the accident. That alone amazed me. Saturday morning after the accident, we were to meet with the funeral home around 11. Our whole family was there to discuss the arrangements. That is what I had always thought I'd be doing for my parents or grandparents, not one of my own kids. That's when this huge guy peeked in the room and wanted to meet with me and Katrina and the funeral director. He introduced himself as Eric Johnson. He gave his condolences and told us what they can do for all of us. He then whipped out a check and gave it to the funeral director, saying this is a start and more will come. Katrina and I just bawled. We went back to the room and told our family what just happened and what was about to happen. I knew then that this community that we are a part of was about to witness something totally amazing. And I forgot to mention this was an Amish community. Supporting Heroes organized everything. They trained my brothers on how to stand guard at the casket. They wrote the script on what to do, what to say at the grave. They had someone to collect all the gifts people brought, and they told them how to park the cars. And I'm thinking it was the first time they ever parked a buggy. They did more than I can even imagine, but anything they did that was maybe different or out of the ordinary, they would ask me if it was okay. And only one time did I tell them no. We made it difficult for them because Kendall passed away on a Friday and we had visitation on Monday and the funeral on Tuesday. And let me tell you, they had to work very fast. The visitation had about 3,000 people come through the line from 2 to 9:30 p.m. And I can only imagine the parking problem they had, but it all went perfect. The funeral was 10 to 12 miles away at the only place big enough to hold close to 1,000 people who attended. Kendall's casket was put on our engine, and it followed the line of fire trucks, police cars, ambulances, personal vehicles that extended for miles with the family behind. Again, everything went flawless, and the drive back to church for some took forever, but I didn't want it to end because I knew what was next, and I didn't want to do it. It was a beautiful November day, and people were out everywhere. Cars stopped along the road. Some were out of their vehicles with their hand over their heart, some saluting as they went by, and some were crying. We drove through town by the Montgomery Fire Station one last time and then back out to the highway. There we drove under 2 aerial trucks with a huge American flag hanging down, flowing in the wind. It was beautiful. We arrived at the cemetery and was led to the grave by an honor guard. He had all the ceremonial things done, ringing of the bell, the pager going off for his last call and going home, a helicopter fly over, the bagpipes playing and fading away, taking his soul home. It was all accomplished and arranged by Eric and his team. After the meal, I went to find all the cast of the Supporting Heroes to thank them, and they were gone. I'm asking, where are they? I want to thank them. You see, That is what this group is all about. They honor our fallen heroes with respect and dignity. It's not about them at all. The next few days were very difficult, and our community still talked about the funeral, but the visits and the phone calls and the texts were a little less. We were both thinking of how we were going to make it through this nightmare. Supporting heroes wasn't finished. We started getting texts and calls from Eric and some of his team asking, "How are you doing?" 4 weeks after the funeral, received some money to help pay bills that may have occurred while we were off work. Jessica received some too. Around Christmas, we both got a wreath to hang, and there is still much that they are doing and they are going to be doing for us, like continued visits, continued phone calls, sending us to Maryland for the National Firefighters Memorial. This is just some of what I've been told, but I'm sure there is much more on the horizon for us to witness. Today is the 4-month anniversary of Kendall's death. We have been adopted into a family we never wanted to be a part of, but we are glad they showed up to show us the love and support we needed at the most devastating time in our lives. You see, as I started this speech, I mentioned how family is everything to me. Most think of family as being blood related. I think of family as my blood family that I love with all my heart. My fire family, who would give their life for me, and my adopted family, supporting heroes, who had never met us but are doing anything and everything to help us make it through this most difficult time in our lives. I know what my blood family is all about. I found out what my fire family is all about, and I look forward to what my adopted family, the supporting heroes, will be about. Thank you for your continued support to this organization. Without all of you, we would still be at home wondering how we are going to move forward in our time of sorrow. Thank you.